before you even started your CF year, what did you think that the year was gonna be like? And then what surprised you once you started as a CF at All About Kids?
I think for me, because I had a very untraditional CF experience, I started my CF elsewhere, and I continued it at All About Kids. So I technically finished my CF back in November, and I got my New York State license last month. But, for me, what I noticed when I went into my CF, I knew that it was gonna be, like, a very challenging year in the sense that in grad school, you learn how to treat, but you don't l like, you learn about the disorders, you learn about how the disorders present themselves, but you don't really learn how to treat until your externships, and on top of that, you have a supervisor who's really helping you get hands-on experience in that externship. So I knew my CF it's my first time really treating on my own. It's my first time learning how to treat a lot of these disorders that I haven't had exposure to because you only have exposure to so many in your externships,
Mm,
and you read a lot about them, but being able to treat them in, like, a practical sense, it's really hard. So that I was nervous for that, and I definitely had my fair share of wide ranges of things that I treated between my old externship and or my old CF and my new CF. Um, but All About Kids, I found that I had a lot more, like, freedom to treat versus my last CF, which was really interesting.
mm.
I felt like I was being treated as an actual therapist right away. Um, I was told to where to go, and I was like, "All right, let's hit the ground running. Let's treat this articulation disorder. Let's treat this language difficulty. Like, let's hit the ground running." And I felt like I could text my supervisor at any time and be like, "This is what I need help with. Like, do you have any ideas of like how to treat this? Like, this is what I'm thinking." And she's like, "Those are great ideas, but this is how I would treat it. But obviously, you're the one running the session. You do what you're comfortable with." So it kind of put that pressure, not pressure, but like that responsibility of being a therapist back on me, which I really appreciated because it made me a more confident clinician today.
Mm. So, would it be fair to say that All About Kids gave you more freedom and
Okay.
less micromanaging to just let
Definitely.
you figure out things on the fly?
Yeah, definitely, especially figuring things out on the fly because when you're in a school, there are assemblies, there are teachers constantly walking in, there are people screaming in the hallways. You have to figure out how to treat these children and have them pay attention to you while you have all of these distractions going on, and anything can derail a session in that moment. So it really made me be able to think on the fly, really become a confident clinician.
Yeah, as you're talking about all the distractions like an assembly or kids screaming in the hallway, I'm thinking of like a Mario Kart style obstacle
Yes.
course, jumping and trying to get mushrooms on the way
Mhm.
to treating the kid,
Mhm.
and it is it it's such a like a collision of what actually happens in real life versus the theories that you've learned that
Mhm.
you have in your head. And then, like you said, practically applying them in real time. That could be messy, but it doesn't always mean that's bad. That's just like part of the job.
Yeah, exactly, like, you just need to be able to think on the fly and be able to be like, "Alright," and, like, a kid will be like, "Why is that person screaming?" And I'll turn it around on them, and I'm like, "Why do you think they are?" Especially for targeting, like, WH questions or inferential questions, like, "Why do you think someone might be screaming?" They're like, "Oh, they might be hurt, like, they may have fallen on the playground." I'm like, "That's a great reason why somebody might be, like, upset and crying." And, like, we'll come up with different scenarios and, like, how we can help a friend in that situation. So it's, like, really just, like, using your environment to try and
Mm,
treat the kids as well.
yeah. What about you, Kate? What did you think your CF year was going to be like at All About Kids? And then what surprised you once you started?
I think, like, it was interesting because going from where, like, you're literally watched like, I was watched on a camera
Mhm.
and the supervisors were in another room, and so, like, if a kid was screaming, okay, supervisor literally walks right out and right into your room and says, "What's going on?" And then I'm like, "Oh, like, okay." I just, like, wasn't expecting that, and then now where if I have a problem, and a kid's screaming, okay, I need to figure that out. I now have the experience from when I was in grad school and that kid was screaming. Okay, what can I do to help this kid? So it's interesting to, like, have that kinda, like, opposite, and then if it ends up that, like, okay, it was, like, a really bad session and I needed, like, just a little bit of help trying to figure out, like, what I could have done or should have done or something like that, then I'll just send a quick text to my supervisor and just say, "Hey, this is what happened today. Like, what do you think I could have done better, or what do you think would be, like, a better way to handle this?" And she'll answer me, like, pretty quickly and just say, "Hey, like, this is what I think," or "Can I give you a call?" or something like that. So it's nice to have that kinda, like, fallback on and, like, having a supervisor to still be there, but not there every single
Mhm.
time that
Yeah.
I need, like, something in a session. So and she sees me, pretty often too, so it's, like, interesting to kinda say, like, "This is what I was talking about," like, right in the moment where I'm like, "This is what I was talking about 3 weeks ago when I called you and I told you that this happened," and
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, okay, I totally understand this," and then she's, like, writing it down, and then, like, after the session, then we can talk about it, and it's nice to have that, like, flexibility with her too, where I can just kinda say, "This is what's happening, tell me what to do," and sometimes she'll throw it back on me and say, "What do you think you should do?" And I said, "Well, this is what happened, this is what I did," and she'll say, "You know, that was great. I'm proud that you did that. That was just a really good thing that you did in that way or in that session," and it's nice to kinda have, like, where she kinda just says to me, like, "Great job." And I'm not used to that, like, I'm used to back when I was in school where they would literally say, "You did this, 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 and this wrong." And I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, what did I do right? Is there anything I did right?" Where I can kinda then the next session go into what was right
Yeah.
instead of what was wrong. So now I have that independence of knowing, like, "Okay, this is what I'm doing. When she does see me, she can help me out and see if I need some help." But now that we're so far into the school year, it just kinda feels like, "Okay, I know what I'm doing. If she comes again, then maybe it's just, like, a little tweak of something." And, like, especially with, like, reports and stuff like that, like, it's just kinda nice to I send out the report to her, she sends it back to me. So it's really nice to kinda have that relationship with my supervisor too, because I know, like, I have a really good relationship with her, and we just kinda go back and forth trying to figure things out. And, you know, that's the best way to help all these kids is to just, like, work together and figure out the best plan for these
Yeah.
kids.